Hey guys, and welcome back to another Access 72 video. In today's video, I'm back with another interview, and I'm here with Richard Rivera. Richard, how are we?
I'm great, man. Good to be here. Thank you. Thank
hmm
you for having me.
Thank you very much, man. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel. And so, am I right in saying you're a 32-year-old light heavyweight who's 24 and 1?
hmm
Great, okay. And so, if you are new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you're doing like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, I'm going to start off with the question which I always like to start off with, and that is, why did you start boxing?
I mean, boxing was something that I've always had in my life. My father was deprived of the sport, so when he had kids, he really wanted to make sure that they had a fighting chance. And when I was able to get into the gym, I truly fell in love with it.
hmm No, that's great. That's great to hear. And so, do you remember what happened in your first amateur fight?
First amateur fight, I could tell you it was a day where I was super nervous. All those emotions were going through my head, and they called my name, and I went in there, and all I could remember was my coach just telling me just to swing and don't stop swinging. All the form and the fundamentals went right out the
Yeah.
window, and it was just all about just keep swinging, keep
Mm.
throwing. And by the end of the fight, I was exhausted, but we ended up getting a unanimous decision win.
Right. No, that's a great start, and I'm sure your coaches are definitely saying different to what to nowadays.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Oh yeah.
so,
Mm.
what would you say throughout your whole amateur career was your biggest achievement?
I think I had a few different big achievements that meant a lot to me.
hmm
It's hard to say that just one did it. We had a time where I was able to fight in front of my locals because not a lot of boxing fights were happening in Hartford. So
hmm
fighting in Hartford to come home with the Hartford Boxing Championship belt in front of a monstrous crowd and winning with a standout knockout
hmm
victory. It was one of the biggest highlights of my amateur career.
Yeah.
But also when I fought in the Olympic trials in Tennessee, I fought in the Olympic trials in Philadelphia, and those were huge achievements. I went all the way to get to the finals on each of those tournaments and didn't get the victory that I thought I deserved, but it was still one of those things that I can never take away. I always think about those moments, and I'll never take it back.
No, it seems like you had definitely fond memories and a good, very good amateur career. And so, how many amateur fights did you end up racking up?
I had about 50 amateur fights. Not a lot were recorded or on the box rec record or whatever the case may be, but I definitely had my fair share of experience as an amateur.
Definitely. And so, what would you say kind of now is the main differences between the amateur and the pro career?
Well, there's a huge business side of things. I would
Of
say the
course.
biggest change on the business side of things is that, like, as an amateur boxer, you want to get in there with the best. You want to fight the best. You want the most experience, and you don't care who, what, when, where, how. You
Yeah.
just wanted the fight to happen. As a pro, it's you got to be a little bit more strategic. You got to make sure all ends are met. The money's right, the right
Yeah.
venue, the right weight. You got to make sure there's so much to take into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But that's more on the business side. But if we're talking more on the physical side of things,
Mm-hmm.
as an amateur, things were fast paced. There was no time to wait. You really had to throw, get in there, and it was hard to display your style of boxing in those quick 3 rounds. As a pro, you can really slow down and show a little bit more of your charisma, settle down, and it's more of a chess match.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And so, why did you end up turning professional when you did?
Well, I did turn pro a little later in my boxing career, but I felt like if I still want to box and I'm good at it, I might as well start making some money doing
Of
it.
course.
I don't want to keep going in there and damaging my body and running
Mm.
these miles for essentially no gain.
Mm. No, that's fair and completely understandable. And so, well, I mean, of course, in the professional side of things, things going very well for you at the moment. And so, what would you say, or which fight would you say you performed your best in?
Oh well, that's a very hard question to
Mm-hmm.
answer because I always go in there trying to give my best performance.
Mm-hmm.
From my pro debut to my latest fight. I
Mm-hmm.
go in there and I treat everybody as if they're a world class champion, a world champion that can potentially hurt me. So
Mm.
I don't go in there and give anything less than my best, you know. So I guess that's hard to say. I would say my most memorable fights would be one of my pro debut, my first belt victory,
Mm-hmm.
my first big fight on the big stage. And I can never forget those fights that were going out of the country.
Yeah.
Boxing was able to take me to Colombia, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico.
Mm.
Boxing has really been able to take me all over the world.
No, definitely. You've had a great career so far, and so well. Maybe looking back into the past, and maybe if you could say something to maybe your younger self when you were first starting, what kind of message would you say to possibly the younger, just turning professional side of things? You.
Ooh, I would say don't trust everybody. Not
Mm.
everything that shines is gold.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
I had a rough time learning that because I was such a gullible person. I was such a naive person. I always believed in the greater good of
Mm.
everybody, and unfortunately, in this sport, you really can't trust everybody.
Mm.
And that kind of hurts me because I really believe in people. I love people, and sometimes that's not always reciprocated.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, the sport is especially at the level you're at. I'm sure you've had many of opportunities which aren't always going to be what they seem they are.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
100%.
Mhm. Okay, and well, I mean, you are just in the, I'd say, kind of prime of your career at the moment, and so, what would you say is your main motivation?
I mean, my main motivation is to, you know, to get my family a better life. A day in day out, I want my mother to be comfortable living. I don't want to have her worrying or wanting for anything. I want my sister to be able to work when she wants to. I want my brother to be able to continue doing what he's doing, but
Mm.
to do a little bit more.
Mhm.
And the thing is, money can make those things happen.
Mm.
I just want a better life for my family. That's my
Mhm.
biggest motivation.
No, that's great. That's a great motivation, and well, I mean, you unfortunately have suffered a singular defeat in your career, but it was a very close competition against Badu Jack, and I mean, after seeing him go on to what he's gone on to, how much do you think you kind of deserve that rematch, and what you've gone into since?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I thought I won that fight.
Mhm.
So when people ask me what's my record, I always tell them I'm
Mhm.
undefeated. You could watch the fight yourself.
Mm.
I feel like I learned a lot from that fight, and I felt like I grew as a person.
Mhm.
I feel a lot more confident in what I'm capable of doing, and it's only up from here. So I know that with the right mindset, with that type of positive attitude, I'm gonna go far in this sport.
Definitely, definitely, and well, I mean, just to kind of speak about, I suppose, the outfit in a way you've chose today. Of course, you've got the hat and you've got the, I suppose,
Mm-hmm.
cigars. Is that the right word for it? But that kind of links to your kind of Popeye kind of name. And where did that name come from?
Oh well, always being in the gym. I was a very small guy. I'm telling you, my growth spurt hit when I was like a senior in high school.
Okay.
Before that, I was always in the gym,
Mhm.
and it was always little jokes here and there, and people would be like, "Yo, this dude look like Popeye," and people would laugh and joke. It was because my hands and my forearms were a lot bigger than my body. I
Yeah.
didn't grow into them yet,
Mhm.
and I didn't feel too bad about it. I wasn't
Mm.
shied away by it. I actually ran with it. I
Yeah.
Popeye. I was like, that's kind of dope, man. I'm about to
Mhm.
run with that. And before you knew it, I was Richard Popeye to Sailor Man Rivera.
No, definitely, it's a great nickname, and I just kind of wanted to bring that up because it's a, like I said, great nickname, and well, I mean, of course, your record speaks for itself. You've got a lot of KOs, 18 KOs in that 24 fight wins, and seven of them being first round stoppages. And so, would you say that kind of power's always been there?
Yeah, it was just something I needed to learn to harness.
Mm.
It was always there. But to be honest, I fancy myself more a boxer.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't see that because I have been getting a lot of first round knockouts, second, third round knockouts. But
Mhm.
I'm somebody that likes to box, and
Yeah.
they say, hey, if you don't look for the knockout will come.
Mm.
So I never go in there looking to muscle them down and rock them. I go in there boxing, and before you know it, I clip them.
No, definitely, indeed, you do. And well, I mean, you've got, of course, some big fights probably coming up in the near future. And so, where do you possibly see yourself in a year's time?
I could see myself holding down one of those major sanctioning bodies. You know, I'm gonna get the WBC, the WBO, the IBF, the ring, anything, and
Hmm.
I'm about to get one of those big belts.
Hmm. No, that's good to hear. And well, I mean, of course, Badu Jack is a big name, and I'm sure you want that fight. But is there any
Yeah.
other kind of big names and big fights that you'd also like in the like heavyweight division?
100%. My eyes are on Arthur Beterbiev.
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm locked in. I got tunnel vision on him. I want him so bad. I've been talking to my promoter, like, yo, make that fight happen.
Mm.
And he said he's trying, and I'm going to have faith in that. But Arthur Beterbiev is definitely next on the hit list.
No, that's great. Okay, that's yeah, a big name. And what was your thoughts on his most recent fight against Anthony Yard? Was a tough test for him.
Yeah, it sure was. Unfortunately, our Anthony Yard doesn't have the grit. You know,
Mm.
I've seen him fold every time it comes like 10th, 11th round. He really don't got that championship round dogging him.
Yeah.
I definitely seen a lot of pros and cons on Arthur Beterbiev's behalf, but you know, I've seen enough to be even more confident in what I could do in the ring with him.
No, indeed. Okay, that's good to hear. And so I'll leave with this final question, which I always like to ask you. You've got a little bit of a platform here. Would you like to shout anything out?
Yeah, I was just like to shout out my family, my friends, my community,
Mm-hmm.
Hartford, Connecticut. You already know. My coach out in Puerto Rico in La Bella, always holding me down. My sponsors, I just want to say thank you for all the love and support, man. I appreciate you. Seven Puff always been looking out. Up in Smoke always been looking out. I just wanted to throw a big shout out to anybody that wants to become a boxer. You know, it's possible. Just hard work and dedication. I know it seems cliche, but you stay in the ring and big things will happen.
Indeed, that's a great message. And well, thank you very much for doing this interview, mate. Maybe a little bit further along down the line, we can come back and do another one.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, and so if you're new around here and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do like the video, and thanks for watching.